Defense, defense, defense. That's what we've talked about the Edmonton Oilers trading for this season, and that appears to be another rumor coming from Elliot Friedman on Hockey Night in Canada last night, looking at a Chicago Blackhawks defenseman for the Edmonton Oilers, one that making $4 million. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first let's get through the housekeeping notes, folks. This is Dolynny TV. Good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're tuning into today's video. My pleasure to have you along on this New Year's Day edition, the second edition of 2023 for Dolynny TV. If you would have told me I'd still be doing this then, no, I'd call you crazy, but it is where we are. So with that said, because of doing this for as long as I have, I'm close to hitting 10,000 subscribers, now at 222 away. 9,778 subscribers on the total when recording this video. My friends, if you'd be so kind to consider hitting that subscribe button, that'd be greatly appreciated. And if you're enjoying today's topic about Jake McCabe, leave a like on the video as well. All right, let's get into it. Jake McCabe, what do we know? $4 million current salary. A guy playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. He's a left-hand shot defenseman. Man, this guy's sounding like he fits the portfolio of what the Edmonton Oilers are looking for in a guy, right? Playing 18 minutes and 57 seconds time on ice. A guy who, realistically, the Blackhawks are not a good team. He's put up 9 points in 32 games, so roughly pacing out to be a guy that'll put up about 20 points this season. A defense-first defenseman as called by the Oilers Nation, playing 18 minutes and 57 seconds. I think I already mentioned that. Has 78 blocks on the season, so he's blocking about 3 pucks a game, 71 hits. A guy who takes and doesn't give away the puck all too much, right? 19 giveaways in 32 games. Compare that to some of the other Oilers defensemen and see where you're standing on that. And of course, too, a guy that hasn't taken a ton of penalty minutes either to hurt the team. Only 5 minors by the looks of it so far this year. And when it comes down to it for Jake McCabe, too, here's the real nice part for him is right now, right, 9 points, 1 goal, 8 assists, 28 shots on the season. So this is a guy that you're not counting on for offense, but another guy, too, that does, to a degree, throw the puck towards the net. Has 19 block shots against, and of course 8 misses on net. So a guy that's throwing the puck towards the net about 55 times this season. So that's a pretty good little get for him there as well. When we start getting into the metrics, I'll break all down the numbers and then we'll get into the metrics. Again, I used to have graphics for all this, but it is way too complicated to stitch together all the graphics and do everything in the proper way. So anyway, Jake McCabe, never really a play-driving defenseman. Of course, that's what you expect your second pairing defenseman not to do, is he's just a guy out there minute munching for your top pair, so that your top pair can go out there and provide a little bit more spark, right? I think we'd say Darnell Nurse is a little more offensively gifted than he is defensively gifted, and if we want to talk about that, you need somebody in that spot that's going to be able to do that. And whether you want to say Kulak would be better suited to take minutes from the second pair guy as the third pair guy, well, then you need that second pair guy. And Jake McCabe, right, a big steady Eddie left-hand shot defenseman, might be that guy for the Edmonton Oilers. A 39.7% Corsi for so far this season. But with him on the ice so far this season, the team, Chicago, is shooting 9.1%. So that, given that it's Chicago, not too bad at all. And they're getting an above 900 save percentage with him on the ice as well, which is an improvement over his past 3 seasons. So that's pretty big. And of course, a guy that throughout his career, other than 1 season, has had the majority, and that was only 2 games back in 14-15, the majority of his starts, almost 60% of them, in the defensive zone. So that's what you need to know there as well, is he's a guy that plays a lot in the defensive zone. And as well, when you look at on-ice goals for versus on-ice goals against, here's the thing. Minute munching defensemen, this is what I mentioned a moment ago, is they're going to get scored on. They're going to get beat up. But it's about how badly they get beat up. And you look at this for Jake McCabe on the Chicago Blackhawks, when you look at it, his on-ice goals for per 60, around his career average of 2.1. The thing is, the on-ice goals against per 60 is roughly 3.3. So you look at Chicago as a whole, you say, well, 3.3 and 2.1, that's actually not too bad of splits when you're talking about splitting hairs on 1 goal extra per game he's on the ice against or I guess every 18 minutes, so 36, 54. Every third game, he's giving up one more goal than he's on the ice against for. But if you're somehow offsetting even a goal and a half every 3 games from Darnell Nurse, you're benefiting here when you're the Edmonton Oilers. So now, suddenly, my friends, that's really all the stats I can throw at you, and that's about as far as I care to throw stats at you for obviously this Jake McCabe fellow. But what I want to do is go talk about the Chicago Blackhawks, their situation. They've got $5.9 million in cap space at current. Jake McCabe, as said, is making $4 million over the next 3 years. So this is, I guess you could look at it here and say, man, okay, so if we're not going for Jacob Chychrun, which Chychrun's fantastic, but if you can get a budget guy for the same rough price that is going to be defense first, which is what so many fans scream for on the Oilers' back end, a rough, tumbly, blocking shot, hard to play against, defense first defenseman, right? That's how many times have you heard that one from Edmonton Oilers fans? Well, simply put, with him, at 29 years old, he's here for the next 3 years if you sign him this year, the year after, and the year next. But, right, for him, right, a guy that left-hand shot, steady Eddie, and you know what you're spending for your left-hand shots. You got Darnell Nurse making 9, you got Jake McCabe making 4, and you got Brett Kulak just making under 3. Well, suddenly that's not too bad of a total spend by next year if the salary cap does indeed go up more than that $1 million that it's rumored to base go up. So that's where it is for the Chicago Blackhawks, but for the Edmonton Oilers, you have to find a way to fit that under the cap, and I think the big thing here, again, is how you do that, right? I don't think Jake McCabe's necessarily going to command a huge price for the Oilers, right? I don't think he's going to have to cost them too much at all, and I think, simply put, you could probably come away gaining more cap space, or cap hit, I guess, by trading Puljujärvi and like a guy like Devon Shore or somebody in that bottom 6 on the roster right now that just doesn't fit in. I don't know. That's the way I'd go about it, and then obviously a draft pick, however you want to fancy that. But for the Oilers, it's something that it shouldn't cost them too much to get a guy who's making $4 million that probably shouldn't be making $4 million this year. Jake McCabe, right? I mean, on Chicago, I think they paid him just to have a good defenseman on the back end that's defense first. But again, right, for the Oilers that have paid defensemen a lot of money, like Chris Russell for $4 million for however long, 4 years I think it was. You think about how that shapes out. Well, suddenly, okay, I think we could definitely find a deal here to be made for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, is Puljujärvi and Shore enough? Probably not. Draft pick, what kind of draft pick you want to throw at it? That's a good question. But as it is for the Edmonton Oilers currently, Jake McCabe, a target according to Elliot Friedman. There's a ton of ways you can discuss this one, but I think it satisfies that itch for Edmonton Oilers fans that is, hey, we want a defensive first defenseman, right? That's kind of the itch we want, and I think Jake McCabe is another guy now rumored to be able to fill that hole for the Edmonton Oilers should they be pursuing him here. Friends, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon, whenever you're tuning in from. Happy New Year. We'll catch you in a little bit. I think I've got another video coming up cooking later today, but we'll find out as I will move on to my Sunday afternoon. Enjoy, folks. I am up on out of here.